One got secretly married, another filed for a sudden divorce, and a longtime host vanished from the show without warning. 2025 has completely shaken up The View. Behind the scenes, drama has exploded into real life with surprise pregnancies, bold career moves, and relationships breaking down in public. These aren't just hot topics. They're their lives. Get ready for the most shocking personal revelations from the hosts of The View in 2025. Whoopi Goldberg. In March 2025, Whoopi Goldberg, now 68, made headlines with a candid and unexpected confession during an episode of The View, the long-running daytime talk show she has co-hosted for over a decade. In a moment of disarming honesty, Goldberg opened up about her past relationships, specifically her 3 marriages, and offered viewers a rare glimpse into how she now views love, sex, and happiness. While she acknowledged that she had experienced great sex during those unions, she added, somewhat to the audience's surprise, that the relationships themselves lacked one critical ingredient: fun. "I just wasn't having any fun," she admitted, her voice tinged with a mixture of clarity and humor that only someone with years of life experience could convey. That single line encapsulated a deeper truth about Goldberg's evolution, not just as an entertainer, but as a woman who has chosen to define her life on her own terms. This revelation was not entirely out of character for Goldberg, who has long rejected traditional norms surrounding marriage and romantic entanglement. But her words in March resonated more strongly than ever, perhaps because they reflected a growing cultural conversation about the value of joy and personal fulfillment over societal expectations. Goldberg made it clear that while physical chemistry had been present in her marriages, emotional and experiential compatibility had been lacking. For her, love without laughter and relationships without lightness simply weren't worth the cost. More than a lament, Goldberg's confession served as a reaffirmation of her current lifestyle, happily and deliberately single. She emphasized that she has no regrets and harbors no bitterness toward her ex-husbands. In fact, she shared that she remains on friendly terms with them, a testament to her ability to close chapters with grace and maturity. Rather than viewing those marriages as failures, she sees them as experiences that ultimately taught her what she truly values in life: independence, authenticity, and above all, joy. Her reflections on The View sparked discussion not just among her co-hosts, but also among the show's millions of viewers. Many praised her honesty, particularly in a media landscape that often idealizes romantic relationships. Others saw her words as a rallying cry for women, especially older women, to prioritize their own happiness, even if that means stepping outside conventional ideas of fulfillment. The authenticity Whoopi brings to The View has long been one of her trademarks. Whether tackling politics, social justice, pop culture, or deeply personal subjects, she's known for speaking from the heart. But this admission, simple as it was, struck a chord because it reaffirmed a quieter truth: that a life well lived is one in which we are allowed to enjoy ourselves, not merely endure. Her commitment to joy and self-discovery didn't stop at her revelation about marriage. In late June 2025, Goldberg briefly stepped away from The View to travel to Italy, where she was honored at the prestigious Taubuk International Book Festival in Taormina, Sicily. The festival, known for bringing together writers, thinkers, and artists from around the world, was the perfect setting for Goldberg to receive recognition for her memoir, Bits and Pieces. The book, a deeply personal reflection on her life, career, and the mosaic of experiences that shaped her, has garnered critical acclaim for its unfiltered voice and emotional depth. In Bits and Pieces, Goldberg doesn't just recount her achievements. She reflects on grief, family, fame, and the private struggles that rarely make the headlines. The memoir is both funny and poignant, much like its author, and it offers readers an intimate portrait of a woman who has survived loss, rejection, reinvention, and renewal. At the Taubuk Festival, Goldberg was presented with a special award in recognition of the book's literary and cultural impact. During her acceptance speech, she touched on the themes of resilience and reinvention that define not only her memoir, but her very existence. She thanked the festival organizers for recognizing a story not just about surviving, but about choosing to live with joy. Her speech was met with a standing ovation. Her visit to Italy was more than ceremonial. It was symbolic. It marked a moment in which Goldberg stepped outside the role of talk show host and entertainer and into that of cultural contributor and author, receiving international recognition for her voice and vision. The trip was a celebration of her life's second, or perhaps third or fourth, act, a chapter not built on romantic drama or career reinvention, but on quiet empowerment. Returning to The View. The week of July 7th, Goldberg seemed recharged and affirmed. She greeted the panel and audience with her signature warmth, slipping effortlessly back into her role as moderator, commentator, and occasional provocateur. Her absence had been brief, but it underscored her importance to the show's dynamic. More than a co-host, she remains a compass, a voice of lived experience and hard-won wisdom. Fans noticed something lighter in her demeanor that week, as if her Italian journey and public affirmation had reinvigorated her spirit. Perhaps it was the glow of recognition, or simply the ongoing joy she continues to find in being true to herself. Either way, Goldberg returned with the same trademark mix of irreverence and insight that has made her a cornerstone of the show. Whoopi Goldberg has never been one to live life quietly. From her breakout role in The Color Purple to her EGOT status, Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony winner, to her decades-spanning presence in American culture, she has always danced to her own rhythm. But now, in her late 60s, she is choosing delight as her tempo. Her comments on The View, her memoir, and her travels all point to the same through line, that Goldberg is not merely aging, but evolving into a woman who no longer measures her life by traditional benchmarks of success, but by how much pleasure and freedom she derives from each day. Sunny Hostin. Sunny Hostin, now 56, has been a mainstay on The View since joining the co-host panel in 2016. A former federal prosecutor and experienced legal analyst, she has earned a loyal following for her articulate, passionate commentary, especially on legal and constitutional matters. Her voice has become increasingly influential over the years, not just on the show, but in the broader political and cultural landscape. Known for her measured tone, intellectual rigor, and fearless takes on controversial issues, Sunny occupies a unique space on the panel, the voice of principled analysis amid heated debate. As 2025 unfolded, Sunny's role on The View has appeared to subtly shift. Her presence at the Hot Topics table has grown more central, and she has frequently taken the lead in opening discussions or guiding particularly complex conversations. Her background in law has never been more relevant, as the show continues to explore subjects ranging from Supreme Court decisions and civil rights legislation to political scandals and global justice issues. Whether weighing in on Trump-era legal legacies, Supreme Court ethics, or celebrity defamation trials, Sunny brings a level of credibility and gravitas that grounds the show's more freewheeling tone. However, in March 2025, whispers began circulating beyond what was seen on air. According to a tabloid report citing unnamed inside sources, Sunny is being groomed to eventually take over the role of moderator, currently held by longtime co-host Whoopi Goldberg. The suggestion sparked immediate interest among viewers, particularly those who had noticed subtle dynamics shifting between the panelists in recent months. The rumor, though unconfirmed by ABC or anyone publicly associated with The View, pointed to a perceived change in Whoopi's on-screen energy. According to the tabloid, some insiders expressed concern that Goldberg, now 68, seemed less engaged during certain episodes, sometimes deferring more frequently to her co-hosts or opting out of deeper discussions. While these observations remain speculative, they prompted an ongoing conversation among fans and media commentators alike. Was the show quietly preparing for a leadership transition? For her part, Sunny has not addressed the rumor directly. nor has ABC issued any official statement regarding changes to the show's hosting lineup. However, longtime viewers have observed a notable confidence in her posture on the show. She has become more assertive in guiding discussions, redirecting conversations, and holding guests accountable. Her rising prominence is undeniable. Within the context of the panel, Sunny often acts as the moral and intellectual compass. Her background as a former assistant U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York lends her an unmatched ability to distill complex legal cases into accessible commentary. This was evident in her coverage of everything from the January 6th hearings to high-profile Supreme Court rulings. But beyond the courtroom analysis, Sunny has grown increasingly comfortable weighing in on personal, cultural, and even humorous subjects, broadening her appeal well beyond legal-minded viewers. Her evolution on The View reflects a broader media trend, the ascension of substantive female voices in daytime television. While earlier eras of the show often relied on explosive conflict and tabloid drama, the modern View has leaned more heavily on intelligent, informed discussion. In that landscape, Sunny's presence has become essential. Yet the prospect of her potentially stepping into the moderator role raises larger questions about the show's identity moving forward. Whoopi Goldberg has been the moderator since 2007, and her voice, sharp, grounded, and often comedic, has helped shape the show through multiple political and cultural cycles. Her tenure has spanned everything from the Obama years through the Trump administration and into the current political moment, anchoring the show through periods of intense national debate. Replacing her, should that happen, would mark a seismic shift. It's worth noting that moderator on The View is not simply a ceremonial title. The moderator sets the tone, keeps the conversation flowing, and manages both guest interviews and the sometimes chaotic interplay between co-hosts. It requires a blend of authority, timing, empathy, and showmanship. Sunny, while deeply capable, would bring a very different energy to that position. Whereas Whoopi's moderating style leans casual and intuitive, anchored in her decades as a performer, Sunny's approach is more structured, cerebral, and policy-focused. A transition from Whoopi to Sunny would reflect not just a personnel change, but a shift in the show's ideological rhythm. Behind the scenes, some insiders reportedly see Sunny as a natural successor. According to the March 2025 tabloid piece, ABC executives have been quietly evaluating succession strategies, especially given Goldberg's reported desire to scale back her professional commitments. Goldberg's recent trip to Italy, where she was honored for her memoir Bits and Pieces, and her increasing openness about enjoying the single life and stepping away from relationship drama, may signal a woman gradually preparing to pivot away from daily television. Still, there is no sign of an imminent departure. Goldberg returned to the show the week of July 7th, following her European appearance, and resumed her role with the same mix of candor and humor that audiences have come to expect. If anything, her brief absence served to highlight her enduring value to the show, reminding viewers just how central she remains to The View's identity. Yet the buzz around Sunny's future remains. For her supporters, the idea of her as moderator represents a fresh era for The View, one grounded in substance, professionalism, and intersectional awareness. Sunny is also uniquely positioned to speak to both political and cultural issues as a Black Latina woman with a long history in legal and journalistic spaces. Her story, growing up in the Bronx, navigating corporate law, and ultimately emerging as a national commentator, is a compelling one. If ABC were to pass the torch, Sunny would represent both continuity and reinvention. It's also worth remembering that The View has long served as a stage for transformation. Over its nearly 3 decades on air, it has undergone numerous cast changes, ideological shifts, and format experiments. What has remained constant is the commitment to lively, informed, and opinionated conversation. In that context, Sunny's rising influence fits the show's history of evolution. Still, succession on The View is rarely straightforward. Past transitions, whether between Joy Behar, Barbara Walters, Rosie O'Donnell, or Meghan McCain, have often been fraught with behind-the-scenes tensions and very public fallout. If ABC is indeed preparing for a new chapter, the producers are likely doing so with great care, weighing audience response, internal chemistry, and long-term brand identity. For now, Sunny Hostin remains firmly in her seat, bringing daily doses of clarity and conviction to millions of viewers. Whether she eventually becomes moderator or continues to shine in her current role, one thing is clear: her voice is one of the most vital on daytime television. And if a new era is on the horizon, Sunny may well be the one to lead it, not with fanfare, but with focus, grace, and the same unwavering intelligence that first brought her to the table in 2016. Joy Behar. In February 2025, at the age of 82, Joy Behar added yet another milestone to her multifaceted career when she debuted her off-Broadway comedy, My First Ex-Husband, at the Manhattan Movement and Arts Center, MMS Theater, in New York City. The one-woman review, interwoven with rotating guest appearances, marked a triumphant return to the stage for Behar, a veteran comedian, writer, actress, and co-host of The View. Known for her razor-sharp wit and unfiltered candor, Behar transformed her personal experiences and observations on divorce, aging, and reinvention into a comedic performance that resonated with audiences of all ages. My First Ex-Husband was not simply a play. It was a personal journey delivered with Joy's signature blend of humor and humanity. Drawing from her 1965 marriage to college professor Joseph Behar, from whom she divorced in 1981, the show offered a series of vignettes, monologues, and stand-up style riffs that examined what happens when love sours, when marriage unravels, and when life forces you to start over at middle age. But this was no sob story. True to its title and tone, My First Ex-Husband served as both a roast and a toast to the end of marriage, a celebration of independence wrapped in satire and smarts. The show's format was dynamic and engaging, featuring Behar front and center, but occasionally joined by a rotating cast of guest stars, each bringing their own comedic twist or commentary to the performance. Whether acting as foils, fictional characters, or simply bantering with Joy, the guests added new dimensions to each performance, keeping the show fresh and spontaneous. The concept allowed for experimentation, surprise, and a delightful variety that made each staging feel unique. But perhaps the most memorable guest appearance came on April 30th, when Joy's longtime friend and The View co-host, Whoopi Goldberg, made a special matinee appearance alongside her. The sight of Goldberg joining Behar on stage sent waves of excitement through the audience, many of whom had followed their on-screen chemistry for years on daytime television. Goldberg's presence added an unexpected layer of warmth and familiarity to the performance. Two comedic icons, now well into their later years, reflecting on life's curveballs with grace, humor, and unshakable friendship. Whoopi didn't just pop in for a quick wave. She fully participated in the scene, playfully engaging with Joy and the script, trading barbs, reminiscing, and ultimately underscoring the deep mutual respect and affection the two women share. Their natural rapport, honed over more than a decade of working together on The View, electrified the room. Fans cheered, laughed, and even got misty-eyed watching these two formidable women share the stage, not as talk show hosts, but as storytellers and friends. The April 30th performance instantly became one of the most talked-about events of the production's run. Audience members and theater critics alike praised the moment for its spontaneity and the palpable chemistry between the two legends. It was, many said, a rare and beautiful example of how decades-long friendships in entertainment can remain real, supportive, and delightfully hilarious. For Joy Behar, the show was more than a return to her theatrical roots. It was a powerful act of self-expression and reinvention. Before she was a co-host on The View, Behar was a stand-up comic and actress, hustling her way through New York's comedy clubs and cabaret stages in the 80s and 90s. In My First Ex-Husband, she returned to the raw, unfiltered intimacy of live performance, a space where her timing, instincts, and comedic edge could shine without the constraints of commercial breaks or daytime decorum. Thematically, the show tackled subjects that are often brushed aside or oversimplified. Divorce, not as failure, but as transformation. Aging, not as decline, but as liberation. Behar spoke candidly about the loneliness, the anger, the absurdity, and even the unexpected joys that come with starting over. And she did it all with a wink and a punchline, inviting audiences to laugh not at pain, but through it. The MMAC Theater proved to be the perfect venue for such an intimate, punchy, and emotionally layered production. Nestled in the heart of Manhattan, the theater's cozy atmosphere allowed Behar to break the fourth wall often, speaking directly to the audience, responding to their reactions, and crafting a communal storytelling experience. The rotating guest format only added to that atmosphere, with each performance feeling like a one-night-only event. Reviews for My First Ex-Husband were glowing. Theater critics praised Behar's comedic timing, her fearless honesty, and her ability to move seamlessly between laughter and poignancy. Audiences appreciated the authenticity she brought to the role. After all, she wasn't just playing a woman navigating divorce and reinvention, she was that woman. The New York Times called the show a hilarious and heartfelt ode to resilience, while Variety described it as Joy Behar at her most joyful, sharp, wry, and totally unapologetic. Behind the scenes, Behar was heavily involved in shaping the show's voice. She co-wrote much of the material, drawing not only from her own life but from stories shared with her over the years by friends, fans, and fellow comedians. The result was a mosaic of experiences that, while rooted in one woman's journey, felt deeply universal. Whether you had been divorced once, twice, or never at all, there was something relatable in Behar's tales of heartbreak, reinvention, and the awkward but hilarious process of moving on. It's also worth noting that My First Ex-Husband arrived at a cultural moment when audiences, especially older ones, are increasingly craving narratives that reflect their lived realities. Behar, like many women in their 70s and 80s, has refused to become invisible. Instead, she has chosen to speak louder, laugh harder, and defy every expectation about what aging in the entertainment industry should look like. The show also served as a subtle commentary on Joy's broader philosophy, one she often articulates on The View, that life doesn't end with divorce or aging or even retirement. If anything, those moments mark a beginning. And with her new play, Joy Behar has offered proof that the second, third, or even fourth act of a woman's life can be the most creatively satisfying of all. As the spring run of My First Ex-Husband continues, fans hope that a wider tour or perhaps a filmed version of the performance might follow. There's already speculation that Behar may adapt the production into a book or streaming special, something that would allow even more people to enjoy the sharp humor and emotional honesty that have defined her career for decades. Sarah Haynes. At 47, Sarah Haynes continues to be one of the most versatile and recognizable faces on daytime television, effortlessly balancing multiple high-profile roles. A co-host on The View since 2016, aside from a brief hiatus, Haynes brings a grounded Midwestern sensibility and journalistic background to the panel. But her talents extend beyond The View. She also maintains a recurring presence on The Chase, ABC's fast-paced trivia game show, where she serves as host and brings her trademark energy to the primetime spotlight. Additionally, Haynes continues to be remembered for her warm and dynamic presence on the now-paused Strahan, Sarah and Kiki, a show that showcased her gift for lighthearted conversation and celebrity interviews. Whether discussing headline news or playing trivia with contestants, Haynes has proven time and again that she can move seamlessly between tones, serious, silly, or spirited. In June 2025, that range was on full display during a particularly fiery segment on The View that quickly captured audience attention and online buzz. The discussion centered on a viral moment involving legendary NFL coach Bill Belichick, 72, who was photographed at a private summer party accompanied by his rumored 24-year-old girlfriend. The image, an unguarded moment showing the couple laughing poolside, prompted public debate about age gap relationships, gender dynamics, and the question of social climbing. The View panel wasted no time diving in. As the segment unfolded, co-host Alyssa Farah Griffin framed the relationship as a likely case of social climbing, suggesting that a young woman dating someone in Belichick's position was primarily leveraging his fame, wealth, and access to elite circles. Sunny Hostin took a slightly different approach, expressing discomfort with the power imbalance implied by a nearly 50-year age difference and asking whether such relationships could ever be emotionally equal. Sarah Haynes, however, took a contrarian but measured stance. She pushed back on both the gold digger stereotype and the assumption that every May-December romance is inherently exploitative. Calm yet firm, she reminded her co-hosts and the audience that not all age gap relationships are transactional or cynical. We need to be careful not to reduce women to social climbers or arm candy just because of who they're dating, she said. Some people are drawn to older partners for emotional maturity or stability. That doesn't mean they're calculating. Her comments sparked a wave of discussion online. Many applauded her for pushing back against knee-jerk judgment and calling for a more nuanced understanding of relationship dynamics. Others appreciated her effort to highlight how the term social climbing can be used to shame women unfairly, particularly younger women involved with older, successful men. This wasn't the first time Haynes had played the role of balancing voice on the panel. Her ability to moderate emotionally charged topics without escalating tension has become one of her trademarks. Though she doesn't always take the loudest stance, Haynes often steps in to reframe the conversation or redirect it toward empathy and open-mindedness, qualities that resonate strongly with viewers looking for civil discourse in a media landscape often dominated by outrage. Her poise and reliability were especially evident during Whoopi Goldberg's brief absence in late June 2025. While Goldberg traveled to Italy to be honored at the Taubuk International Book Festival for her memoir Bits and Pieces, Sarah stepped up to help anchor The View during her temporary leave. Though the show functions as an ensemble, the absence of its moderator always shifts the chemistry, and it's often up to the other co-hosts to redistribute the responsibilities of keeping the discussion flowing. During this period, Sarah filled in seamlessly. She opened several segments, guided transitions, and made sure that heated moments remained productive rather than chaotic. Viewers noticed. Her confidence, professionalism, and respect for the show's rhythm stood out even more during Whoopi's absence, with fans praising her calm yet assertive manner. Behind the scenes, her growing ability to fill leadership space hasn't gone unnoticed. While there have been tabloid rumors about other co-hosts, like Sunny Hostin, being groomed for Whoopi's long-term replacement, many see Haynes as a natural choice for a leadership role as well. She's known for doing her homework, maintaining cordial relationships with colleagues and guests, and avoiding theatrics in favor of thoughtful exchange. Whether in the thick of a political debate or a lighter conversation about celebrity culture, Sarah's voice remains even-keeled and inclusive. What also sets Sarah apart is her deep connection to the audience. Her segments on motherhood, marriage, and anxiety have opened up important conversations about modern parenting, mental health, and self-worth. She's often spoken candidly about her struggles with postpartum depression and the pressure to do it all as a working mother in the public eye. These moments of transparency make her especially relatable to a broad cross-section of viewers, particularly women navigating similar challenges. Although Strahan, Sarah, and Kiki was placed on hiatus in 2020 and never formally returned, Sarah continues to be associated with that chapter of her career. The show allowed her to lean into her lighter side, dancing with celebrities, participating in comedy sketches, and interviewing entertainers with enthusiasm and heart. It also gave her exposure to a younger, pop culture savvy audience who might not typically tune in to more politically centered shows like The View. Then there's The Chase, where she continues to shine in an entirely different genre. On the fast-paced game show, she presides over trivia rounds with sharpness and showmanship, handling pressure and competition with flair. Her role there shows another dimension of her skill set, hosting live television, reacting in real time, and energizing contestants and audiences alike. Through it all, Sarah Haynes remains one of the most multifaceted women on television today. Her ability to move across formats, moods, and audiences while maintaining authenticity is rare in the industry. Whether mediating heated discussions, hosting primetime game shows, or sharing vulnerable stories about parenting and identity, she consistently shows up with intelligence, warmth, and purpose. And if her June performance, both on and off The View, is any indication, her future in television remains not only secure, but bright. With speculations swirling about future shakeups on The View, many fans would welcome seeing Sarah step into even greater responsibility. Yet Haynes herself seems content to let the work speak for itself. She's not one to chase headlines or stir controversy for the sake of it. Instead, she's steadily built a career based on consistency, humanity, and connection. In an era where daytime talk often veers into spectacle, Sarah Haynes offers something refreshingly rare: balance. And whether she's holding court in a panel debate, guiding trivia contestants on The Chase, or standing in for an absent co-host, she brings with her a clear sense of integrity and quiet power, reminding viewers that sometimes the strongest voice is the one that listens first. What do you think about the big changes of The View hosts' members? Leave us your comments in the section below. We hope you have found this helpful video. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you like it. Thank you for watching this, and see you in the next videos. Goodbye.